we agreed to keep it simple. No feelings, no expectations, just closeness, comfort, and an unspoken understanding that we wouldn't ask questions we didn't want answers to. That was the rule Raymond himself insisted on, so I don't know when exactly things started to go wrong. But I remember the first time I felt that tight, uncomfortable twist in my chest. The first time I realized one of us was lying about being okay with this setup. And yeah, it wasn't me. It started on a Tuesday night, which already felt ironic because nothing dramatic is supposed to happen on a Tuesday. I'd just gotten home from work, kicked off my shoes, and was halfway through reheating leftovers when Raymond texted me. "You around?" 2 words. No emoji. No explanation. Typical Raymond. Yeah, I typed back. "Come over?" He showed up 20 minutes later like he always did. Hoodie, messy hair, that relaxed confidence that made him look like he never overthought anything. He leaned against my kitchen counter while I ate, stealing bites off my plate without asking. We didn't talk about our days. We never really did. That was part of the deal too. This thing between us had started about 3 months earlier, after a drunken night where crashing on my couch turned into him pulling me closer and muttering, "We don't have to make this weird." So we didn't. We became convenient, familiar, comfortable in a way that didn't require labels. He'd come over once or twice a week. Sometimes we'd be close. Sometimes we'd just lie there, watching stupid YouTube videos until one of us fell asleep. Then, in the morning, he'd leave before it felt too personal. Friends with benefits, or, as Raymond liked to call it, friends with convenience. That night felt normal at first. We ended up in my bedroom without really deciding to. His hands were warm, confident, practiced, like he already knew exactly how I'd react. And I did. Every time. Afterward, we lay there, catching our breath. He was scrolling through his phone, not touching me, not pulling away either. That neutral space he was so good at occupying. Then his phone buzzed. I didn't mean to look. I swear I didn't. But I caught the name on the screen, Evan. Something flickered across Raymond's face. Fast. Almost imperceptible. He turned his phone face down on the mattress. I laughed lightly. "New guy?" He shrugged. "Too casual. Just someone I've been seeing." I nodded, because that's what I was supposed to do. Because we had an agreement. Cool. And it was cool. I meant it. At least, I thought I did. A minute later, he sat up and started pulling on his jeans. "Already?" I asked. "Yeah. Early morning." He kissed me. Quick. Almost distracted. And was halfway out the door when I added, "You coming over this weekend?" Raymond paused, just for a second. "Not sure," he said. "Might be busy." Busy. With Evan, presumably. Again, fine. Completely allowed. I closed the door behind him and went back to my cold leftovers, feeling nothing more than mild annoyance. At least that's what I told myself. The next time things felt off was a few days later. I ran into Raymond at a bar downtown, completely unplanned. I was there with a couple coworkers, laughing louder than usual, already a little tipsy. I saw him before he saw me. He was at the bar. With Evan. Guy. Broad shoulders. Hand resting casually on Raymond's lower back like he belonged there. I waited for the jealousy to hit. It didn't. Instead, I smiled, waved, and walked over like everything was normal. "Hey," I said. "Didn't know you were coming out tonight." Raymond looked surprised, then weirdly tense. "George." Yeah, this is Evan." Evan smiled. Nice smile. Confident. "Heard a lot about you." That caught my attention. "Yeah." Raymond shot him a look. A sharp one. "What?" Evan laughed. "You talk about him all the time." Something shifted right then. I felt it. Raymond's jaw tightened, his hand curling around his drink a little too hard. "Not really," Raymond said quickly. I raised an eyebrow, amused. "All the time, huh?" Raymond didn't look at me. "Can we not do this?" "Do what?" I almost asked. But Evan was still smiling, still relaxed. "You guys work together or something?" "No," Raymond said. "We're just Friends. The word landed heavier than it should have. I shrugged. Yeah, just friends. I thought that would be the end of it. A slightly awkward interaction, nothing more. But when I turned back toward my group, I felt it. Raymond, watching me. Not casually, not neutrally, closely. And for the first time since we'd started this whole convenient arrangement, I realized something unsettling. Raymond didn't like sharing. And he definitely didn't like seeing me smile at someone else. Confirming my suspicion. I didn't bring it up that night. Or the next time Raymond texted me at 1 a.m. asking if I was up. Or when he started coming over again like nothing had happened. But things had changed. Subtle at first, almost easy to miss. He lingered longer afterward. Didn't reach for his phone right away. Started asking questions he'd never cared about before. Who were you out with last night? Or that guy at the bar? Coworker. He tried to play it off as casual curiosity, but the timing was always wrong. Too late. Too pointed. One night, about a week after the bar incident, I mentioned, offhand, that I had a date. Not even a big deal. Just dinner. Nothing serious. Raymond froze. Actually froze. Mid-motion. One shoe on, one shoe off. Like his body hadn't gotten the memo that he was supposed to keep pretending everything was chill. Oh, he said. A date. I nodded, tying my laces. Yeah, guy from an app. Seems nice. Right, he said, too fast. Then, quieter. You didn't say you were seeing someone. I looked up at him. I didn't think I had to. Silence stretched between us. Thick, uncomfortable. That's not what this is, he finally said. I straightened. What is this then? Raymond exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. You know what I mean. We said, no complications. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm not complicating anything. You're the one with Evan. Remember? His jaw tightened. That's different. That stopped me. Different how? He opened his mouth, then closed it. Whatever answer he'd been about to give clearly didn't sound good out loud. Forget it, he muttered. Just do whatever you want. I should have let it go. Should have grabbed my jacket and walked out. Instead, I stepped closer. Raymond, are you jealous? He scoffed. No. Too quick. Again, I raised an eyebrow, because it kind of sounds like you are. He met my gaze then, eyes dark, expression unreadable. For a split second, I thought he might actually say it, admit it, own it. Instead, he shook his head. You're imagining things. There it was, the lie. After that, things spiraled faster. Raymond started showing up unannounced, texting if I didn't reply fast enough, asking who I was with when I posted a story online, even if there was nothing remotely suggestive about it. One night, I came home to find him sitting on my couch. No text. No warning. Hey, he said, like this was normal, like my apartment wasn't suddenly feeling 10 degrees smaller. Did you? I gestured vaguely. How did you get in? You gave me a spare key, he replied. Remember? I did remember. I just hadn't realized he'd start using it. I set my bag down slowly. Raymond. Boundaries. He stood up. I just wanted to see you. That's not an explanation. He sighed. Frustrated. Why are you being like this? I laughed again, sharper this time. Why am I being like this? You're the one acting like we're in a relationship you refuse to admit exists. That's not fair, isn't it? He stepped closer, voice low. You don't get it. Then explain it to me, I said, because from where I'm standing, you're okay being with other guys. But the second I do, suddenly there's a problem. His eyes flicked away. I just don't like the idea of you getting hurt. That hit harder than I expected. I stared at him. You don't get to care about that. I do, he snapped. I can. No, I said quietly. You can't. Not unless you're willing to want more than this. Silence again, louder than before. Raymond swallowed. I watched his throat bob, watched him wrestle with something he clearly didn't want to face. Finally, he said, "What if I don't know what I want?" I softened then. "Just a little. That's fine, but you don't get to punish me for knowing what I want." He looked at me, really looked at me. And for the first time, there was fear there, not of losing closeness, not of losing convenience, not of losing me. He stepped back, nodding slowly. "I should go." "Yeah," I agreed, "you should." At the door he hesitated, hand on the handle. "George?" he said. "Yeah?" I never meant for this to get messy. I met his eyes. Neither did I. The door closed behind him, and for the first time since we'd made our little agreement, I knew the truth. We hadn't failed at being friends with benefits. We'd failed at pretending feelings were optional. Raymond stayed gone for almost 2 weeks. That was the longest stretch we'd gone without talking since this whole thing started, and I hated how much I noticed the absence. No late-night texts. No casual "you up." No familiar knock on my door that I pretended not to wait for. I went on the date. It was fine. The guy was nice, attentive, asked real questions, laughed at my dumb jokes. Everything you're supposed to want. And yet, halfway through dessert, I caught myself checking my phone under the table, half expecting Raymond's name to light up the screen. It didn't. That should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like losing a game I never agreed to play. The worst part? Raymond didn't disappear from my life entirely. He just reappeared in inconvenient ways, liking my posts within seconds, watching every story, showing up places where it made sense for him to be, but also felt a little too coincidental. We ran into each other at the gym one morning. I was mid-set when I saw him in the mirror behind me. Same hoodie, same calm posture, same ability to knock the air out of my lungs just by existing in my line of sight. "Hey," he said, like we hadn't left things unfinished. "Hey." That was it. No confrontation, no apology, just two people pretending nothing had cracked open between them. But the tension was there, thick, electric. Every time our eyes met, it felt like we were both silently asking the same question. Are we really doing this? A few days later, he finally texted, "Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time. About what? I typed back. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. About us. I exhaled slowly. "Come over." He showed up that evening, looking more tired than usual, less guarded. He didn't sit right away, just stood near the door, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to take up space anymore. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "Good," I replied. "Neither am I." We sat on opposite ends of the couch. The distance between us felt louder than any argument we could have had. "I didn't handle things well," Raymond admitted finally. "I know that." I nodded, but didn't rush to reassure him. "You got scared." He gave a short laugh. "Yeah, that too." Silence settled again, but this time it wasn't hostile. "Just heavy. I didn't expect to feel this way," he continued. "It was supposed to be easy, clean, and then you started mattering." My chest tightened. "You don't get to be mad at me for that." "I'm not," he said quickly. "I was mad at myself. That surprised me. I don't like not being in control," he admitted. "And liking you makes me feel like I'm not." I studied his face, the tension in his shoulders, the honesty he wasn't used to offering. "What do you want, Raymond?" I asked quietly. He hesitated. "I don't know. But I know I don't want to lose you." I leaned back. "That's not enough." "I know," he said, "but it's the truth." I didn't move closer, didn't reach for him. "I can't go back to how things were." "I'm not asking you to," he replied. "I just need time to figure out if I can be what you deserve." "That's risky," I said. "I know." We sat there, suspended in something fragile. Not broken, but not fixed either. When he stood to leave, it felt different than before. Less final, more uncertain. At the door, he paused. "Are you still seeing that guy?" "Yes," I said honestly. He nodded, swallowing. "Okay." That was it. No argument, no possessive edge, just acceptance, raw and uncomfortable. And that's when I realized something important. Raymond wasn't jealous because he wanted control. He was jealous because he was afraid. Afraid that while he was figuring himself out, I'd choose someone who already knew how to choose me. And for the first time, I wasn't sure which one of us that scared more. I tried to move on, not in some dramatic found myself at the gym at 6 a.m. kind of way. Just forward. I kept seeing the guy from the app. His name was Lucas. He texted good morning messages. He remembered small things. He held my hand in public without making it a big deal. It was easy, which somehow made it harder, because every time things felt calm with Lucas, my mind would drift back to Raymond, wondering if he was spiraling, or pretending he wasn't, wondering if he was finally being honest with himself, or just waiting for me to give him an opening. That opening came sooner than I expected. It was a Friday night when my phone buzzed while I was halfway through a movie at Lucas's place. "Can I see you?" Raymond, no small talk, no buffer. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening now. I replied, "Yeah, if that's okay." I hesitated. "Then, give me an hour." When I got home, Raymond was already there, leaning against his car under the streetlight. He looked nervous. That alone told me this wasn't about attraction. "Hey," he said. "Hey." We stood there for a moment, neither of us moving. Finally, I nodded toward my building. "You want to come up?" Inside, he paced while I grabbed us water. Same apartment, same couch. Everything familiar, except us. "I broke things off with Evan," he said suddenly. I didn't respond right away. "Okay, I'm not saying that so you'll feel obligated," he added quickly. I needed to be honest." I leaned against the counter. "Why now?" He stopped pacing and looked at me. Really looked. "Because I went on a date last night." That surprised me. And the entire time, all I could think about was whether you were doing the same thing with someone else. He laughed softly, shaking his head. That's when it hit me. I don't just want you when it's easy. I want you when it's inconvenient, when it scares me. My heart pounded. "Raymond, I know," he interrupted. "I know I don't get to show up late and expect you to still be available." Silence stretched between us. "I'm not asking you to choose me tonight," he continued. "I'm asking if there's a possibility someday that I could be someone you'd choose." I thought of Lucas, of safety, of clarity. Then I thought of Raymond, messy, honest, finally standing still instead of running. "I can't promise you anything," I said carefully. "I'm not going to be someone's maybe while they figure things out." He nodded. "Fair." "But," I added, "I won't pretend this doesn't matter." Hope flickered across his face, restrained, cautious. "I need consistency," I said. "Not jealousy, not half claims. If you want to be in my life, it has to be real." "I can do real," he said quietly. I just needed to stop lying to myself first. We didn't touch, didn't kiss. That felt important. When he left, something had shifted, not settled, but aligned. I texted Lucas later that night, telling him the truth, that I wasn't fully available, that it wouldn't be fair to keep going. He understood. That almost made it harder. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Raymond.Coffee. No pressure. I smiled despite myself. "Coffee," I replied. No pressure. Because this time, whatever we were building wasn't about convenience anymore. It was about choosing each other without pretending it wouldn't hurt if we got it wrong. Coffee turned into a habit faster than either of us admitted. At first, it was once a week. Neutral territory. Public. Safe. We talked about work, dumb gym drama, movies we'd both seen but never watched together. It felt careful. Like we were both afraid one wrong move would shatter whatever fragile progress we'd made. Raymond didn't touch me much. Not the way he used to. When he laughed, he leaned back instead of closer. When our knees brushed under the table, he noticed and pulled away. It shouldn't have mattered. But it did. One morning, after about 3 weeks of this strange almost dating, I finally called him out on it. "You know," I said, stirring my coffee, "you don't have to act like I'm made of glass." He looked up. "I don't." "You do," I said. "You're holding yourself at arm's length." He exhaled. Because last time, I crossed lines I wasn't ready to respect. I studied him. And now? and now I'm trying not to screw this up. That honesty still caught me off guard. We walked back toward our cars in silence. Then I stopped. Raymond. He turned. I need to ask you something, I said, and I need a real answer. He nodded. Okay. Are you still seeing other people? He didn't hesitate. No. Are you wanting to? No. Then why does it still feel like you're halfway out the door? He looked at the pavement for a long moment before meeting my eyes again. Because committing means I can't pretend anymore. And pretending has always been my exit strategy. That was the most vulnerable thing he'd ever said to me. I'm not asking for perfection, I said softly. I'm asking for presence. He nodded. Then I need to do something different. Like what? Like actually showing up, he said. Not just when it's convenient. Not just when I'm scared you'll disappear. That night, he invited me over. Not at midnight. Not with a vague "you up?" text. An actual invitation. Dinner. At his place. It felt bigger than it should have. His apartment was cleaner than I expected. Nervous clean. He cooked. Nothing fancy, but he tried. Burned the garlic bread and swore under his breath while I laughed. We sat on his couch afterward, shoulders barely touching. This feels weird, I admitted. He smiled. Good weird or bad weird? Good, I said, but different. Yeah, he agreed. Different. He didn't kiss me when I left. Just hugged me. Slow, deliberate, grounding. That hug lingered with me all the way home. Over the next month, we started building something that actually had a shape. Dates. Real ones. Arguments too. Small, awkward ones where neither of us quite knew the rules yet. And then came the test. We ran into Evan again. Same bar. Different energy. Evan smiled when he saw us. Hey, Raymond didn't tense this time. Didn't look at me to gauge my reaction. Hey, he said calmly. Evan glanced between us. So you two are? Raymond looked at me. Not for permission, for inclusion. I took a breath and said, we're seeing each other. Evan nodded genuinely. Good. Later that night, walking home, Raymond slipped his hand into mine. Casual. Unforced. I didn't feel jealous, he said quietly. I squeezed his hand. Good. I felt. Sure, that word settled deep in my chest. We didn't rush labels, but we stopped pretending we didn't want them. And sometimes, late at night, when we lay tangled together, Raymond would murmur, I really thought keeping things casual would protect me. I'd kiss his shoulder and say, turns out, caring was the risk. And this time, neither of us was running from it. I thought once we crossed into something real, things would settle. They didn't. They deepened. Being with Raymond wasn't dramatic in the way people warn you about. It was quieter than that. More dangerous. Because now, when something felt off, it mattered. When he pulled away, it hurt. When I did, he noticed. The first real crack showed up on an ordinary night. We were at my place, half watching a show neither of us cared about. I was scrolling through my phone when Raymond shifted beside me. Who's Mark? He asked. I glanced up. Coworker. You text a lot, I frowned. Yeah, we're on the same project. Raymond nodded, but his jaw tightened, not overtly, just enough. I set my phone down. Okay, say it. Say what? That thing you're not saying, I replied. Because I recognize that look. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I don't like not knowing where I stand. You're sitting right here, I said gently, with me. I know, he said. But part of me still expects this to disappear. That was new. You think I'm going to leave? I think, he said carefully, that I train myself not to expect permanence. So when things feel good, my brain starts looking for the exit. I leaned back, studying him. You know that's not jealousy, right? He gave a humorless smile. Yeah, it's fear wearing jealousy's clothes. That honesty stopped me from snapping, from getting defensive. Then you need to tell me when that happens, I said. Not interrogate me about texts. I know, he said quickly. I'm trying. And he was. The difference this time was what came next. I don't want to be the guy who limits you, he continued. or watches you like you're about to slip through his fingers. So don't be, I said. Trust me. He met my eyes. I'm learning how. That night, he stayed. Not because he had nowhere else to be, but because he wanted to wake up next to me. Morning breath, messy hair, no escape hatch. It scared him. I could tell. Weeks passed. We met each other's friends. His first, then mine. He was quieter around my people, more observant, watching how I moved in the world when he wasn't the center of it. Later, in bed, he admitted, "Seeing you like that, so solid, it made me realize something." What? You don't need me, he said. You choose me. That hit harder than any compliment. Then came the moment I didn't expect. One night, afterward, when the room was still warm and quiet, Raymond said, "I get why I was jealous before." I turned toward him. Yeah? Because when we were just convenient, he said, I could pretend I didn't care if you left. But now, he swallowed. Now it would actually break me. I didn't answer right away. I just reached for him, pulling him closer. This is the part, I said softly, where you don't run. He nodded, pressing his forehead to mine. I know. And for the first time since we'd met, I believed him, not because he promised, but because he stayed through the uncomfortable parts. Through the moments where jealousy tried to creep back in, and he chose honesty instead. We didn't stop being scared. We just stopped letting fear make our decisions. And somewhere along the way, friends with convenience became two people building something fragile, deliberate, and real, knowing exactly how much there was to lose. The first time Raymond said "my boyfriend" out loud, it caught both of us off guard. We were at a small house party, one of his friends from college, cramped living room, cheap beer, too much noise. Someone asked him how we knew each other. Raymond didn't look at me before answering. This is George, he said easily. My boyfriend. The word hung there for half a second longer than expected. Something warm spread through my chest. Surprise, pride, fear, all tangled together. Later that night, walking back to his place, I nudged his shoulder. You didn't warn me. He smiled, a little nervous. Did I mess up? No, I said. Just didn't know you were ready. He slowed down, then stopped completely. I've been saying it in my head for weeks. Tonight, it just felt true. That became our rhythm after that. Not big declarations, but quiet moments where things clicked into place. Still, jealousy didn't vanish overnight. It changed shape. One evening, months later, I mentioned a coworker had invited me to drinks with a group. Nothing secretive, nothing weird, but Raymond went quiet. Not defensive, not sharp, just quiet. I noticed immediately. Hey, he looked at me. I'm okay. You don't sound okay. He exhaled slowly. I'm not jealous of him. I'm jealous of the version of you that exists when I'm not there. That stopped me cold. You don't trust me? I do, he said quickly. That's not it. Sometimes I still feel like I joined your life late. Like everyone else already knows a version of you I didn't get. I stepped closer, taking his hands. You didn't miss anything important. He searched my face. Promise? I promise, I said. And if there are versions of me you haven't met yet, I want you there when I become them. That did something to him. I felt it in the way his grip tightened, the way his shoulders relaxed. Later that night, lying together, he admitted something else. When we were just seeing each other casually, he said quietly, I thought jealousy meant weakness. Like if I didn't care, I couldn't get hurt. And now I know jealousy was just fear, he said. And fear doesn't go away just because you pretend it shouldn't exist. I traced slow circles on his arm. You're allowed to be afraid. I know, he said. I just don't want fear making my choices anymore. That was the biggest change. Not that he stopped feeling things, but that he started talking about them. Before they turned sharp, before they turned into silence, we still fought sometimes, still misunderstood each other, still had nights where one of us pulled away and had to be gently pulled back. But the difference was this. neither of us pretended not to care anymore. One night, months later, as we lay awake listening to rain hit the windows, Raymond said softly, "I used to think being just friends with benefits meant no one could get hurt." I turned toward him. And now? And now I know it just meant we delayed the honest part. He kissed my forehead, slow and certain. "I don't regret the mess," he added. "It led me here." So yeah, we agreed to be just friends with convenience. But somewhere between jealousy, fear, and finally choosing not to run, we became something else entirely. Not perfect. Just real. And this time, neither of us was pretending we didn't want more. There wasn't a single moment where everything wrapped itself up neatly. No big speech, no dramatic choice in the rain. It happened the way real things usually do, quietly after we'd already survived the hardest parts. It was a Sunday morning. Late light spilling through the blinds. Raymond was half awake, arm heavy across my chest, breathing slow and even. I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about how different this felt from the beginning, how there was no tension in the silence anymore, no wondering where he'd be later, no bracing for distance, just presence. "I'm awake," he murmured, eyes still closed. I smiled. "Liar," he shifted, tightening his arm around me. "Okay, I was asleep, but I like waking up like this." That simple sentence hit me harder than any "I love you" would have back then. We lay there for a while, listening to the city wake up. Eventually, he rolled onto his side, propping his head up on his hand, studying my face. "You ever think about how close we came to messing this up?" he asked. "All the time," I said honestly. He nodded. "If you hadn't called me out, if you'd just gone along with it, if you hadn't gotten jealous," I added gently. He winced. "Yeah, that." "But you did," I said. "And instead of pretending you didn't feel anything, you faced it." He smiled faintly. I hated that part. "I know." He leaned in, pressing a slow kiss to my mouth. Not rushed, not hungry, just sure. Later, over coffee, he said something that stayed with me. "I used to think being chill meant being detached," he said. "Turns out, it just meant being unavailable." I nodded. "And being available is terrifying." "Yeah," he said, reaching for my hand. "But it's also kind of amazing." Months passed. Seasons changed. The jealousy never disappeared completely, but it stopped being a weapon. It became a signal. A moment where one of us would say, "Hey, I'm feeling insecure," instead of acting out. We learned how to reassure without control, how to choose without clinging. One night, after meeting his parents for the first time, Raymond admitted, "I've never brought someone home like that." I raised an eyebrow. "Should I be honored?" He squeezed my hand. "You should know I don't do things halfway anymore." And that was the truth of it. What started as just friends with convenience had forced us to confront the one thing we were both avoiding, what it meant to actually let someone matter. Jealousy wasn't the problem. Fear was fear of being seen, fear of being chosen, fear of choosing back and losing anyway. But somewhere along the line, we decided the risk was worth it. Not because we were sure it would last forever, but because we were finally honest about wanting it to, and that made all the difference.